the greasy death.
They got you, space TOGOs, and that. Now you'll flash on the rock. We've blown up the grease planet and we're rocketing home for lunch. Make us 2 hot pastrami's on wheat, 1 large avocado and turkey, and Ripley wants egg salad.
No, let
No, you just cursed last time. TOGO!
The best sandwiches in the universe.
Nothing makes you lonelier than when you're working with stupid coworkers. I decided maybe I'll just put it under True Force Loneliness. Maybe there's a relevance, maybe there's not. Because it has been almost exactly, because I think it was the end of February, beginning of March, 2006, I took on a job at TOGO's. Now, it was 4 years since 2002 was when my dad passed away. Revenge of the Sith came out in, 2005? 2006 was Superman Returns. I think I had reached the end of my ropes in dating online females. I didn't want to get into any fucking problems with that. It was complicated. So I was not a smart person, okay? I had not yet self-published my first book, The Outcasters, Drake, right? So I was at crossroads. I had taken on stupid jobs because I have a Bachelor of Arts degree. And then after that, I tried to find work. I went through internships in 2003 to 2004. Then I did warehousing in 2005. That didn't work out for me. It was Sears and Roebuck. You had to do pull pallet jacks, and you had to do a lot of heavy lifting and cleaning, and you had to use a pitchfork and take out brush and stuff. So that was tough, and I couldn't do that. So they shit canned me, and I couldn't get the second job at Sears and Roebuck. So 2006 was, by that time there was an employment agency for handicapped people. Then there were different employment agencies I could go to. It was depressing that my Bachelor of Arts degree could not get me a job in animation. Everybody treated me like shit. I have not forgotten it. That's my response to you lot in Hollywood. Fuck all of you. Anyway. So I went to TOGO's. Now, this was the TOGO's on Atlantic Boulevard. It was 1 block away from East Los Angeles College. It is a credit union now, but it was TOGO's. So this TOGO's, I think, had a dark red look to it, not a blue. But I remember this. I mean, I really remember this setup. Okay, you had a little corridor, a little column of seats. Didn't have much in the way of seating. Seating was just a little weird. You had this big space. So we had paper schedules. We didn't have apps. We didn't have websites so you could click on and log in and check things. Everything was done by paper and by telephone because it was 2 years, maybe 3, before the smartphone. People still had maybe Yahoo Messenger on their flip phones and color phones, right? So nobody had the smartphone yet. No iPhones. I could tell you, I mean, I really hated this job. Okay, let me see if I can find, I don't know if I can find a picture of this dude. He sort of looked like this. He kind of looked like Michael Jordan, but he had this peanut head. And he was very tall, over 6 feet tall, and he rolled up his eyes and popped his lips a lot. Vince, that was my old boss. This is not the guy, but Vince looked like this guy right here on the left. I did the interview with him. He didn't seem happy to be there. He was miserable being there. I could kind of tell. But I said, I needed the work and responsibility. And TOGO's was the first real job I had. Okay, because Sears and Roebuck was 2005. Yeah, I got my first paychecks. I was 28 years old. And that was a different time. So I worked there. It's like Subway or Quiznos. You made sandwiches. The one sandwich I remembered was the turkey and cranberry sandwich. You had bits of turkey and cranberry. Now, what were the problems with this place? Well, one, I didn't get along with the coworkers. Okay? 2 in particular. One was Melissa, one was Lynette. And both of these girls had boyfriends, and they might have been pretty. They weren't horrible. They weren't horrific looking, okay? They were about average to pretty. I think Melissa was probably prettier than Lynette. And both of these girls had boyfriends, but they look like they've killed some. They look like the cholos, okay? They look like they've killed a few guys, okay? These are the kind of boyfriends that look like they did some hits on other people. You know what I'm talking about? Like pull out the gun out. Okay, I want you to go shoot this other fucker and drive away. They look like those kinds of people. These are the kinds of dudes that have killed people, I think. So I was worried about them kind of having leverage over Togos because Lynette and Melissa worked there. So, that kind of worried me a bit. So when your boyfriend is a cholo and you're working at a place and you're going to be a queen bitch, and Lynette was a queen bitch because she was a manager, store manager for night, and she was rude as fuck. And we had disagreements, and I didn't like the way she was just bossing me around. And other people were bossing me around because they didn't respect what I was doing. I'm like, I'm following your order, but you're not respecting me as a person. So at some point, she told me, well, this is another girl. This was not Lynette. So another girl who was like my direct manager said, okay, well, you can't make sandwiches anymore. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then later on, when I was washing dishes, because we had 3 jobs, actually 2 jobs, 2 or 3. You either work the sandwiches here, you make the sandwiches, you were either the cashier or you washed dishes in the back. So you had 3 jobs. Sometimes you would clean up the floor in the bathroom, right? You clean up the bathroom and then you mop the floor a bit. So just to keep it nice and clean when people aren't in. So whatever people are not in, you check the bathrooms, you knock, and then you open the door, you clean out the bathrooms. And then when people start to come in, then you go back to making sandwiches or you wash the dishes. So she was like a bitch. Can you understand why I don't want you making sandwiches? I snapped back at her. I said, you were just being rude. And I told you I knew what I was doing. And I did know what I was doing. I mean, making sandwiches was not difficult. You don't need a bachelor's degree to know how to make sandwiches. One person that was kind of bossy was Lily. However, I respected Lily because she had integrity, unlike Vince, our big boss that was in charge. Vince was basically the store manager, right? He was the store owner. And then Lily was a store manager. Lynette was a store manager. You had other people in charge. Yadi, Yadi. You had her. She was another store. So Latinos and stuff. And then you had Mike and Daniel and another Daniel. Oh my God. I remember these people now. Holy shit, I can remember their names. So I'm just going to go over their first names. It's no harm. Lily was the only one who was kind of bossy, but she stuck to her principles. That's why I don't dislike her. She stuck to her principles. She practiced what she preached. So when she talked down to you a bit, it wasn't so that she could boss you around. It's that she wanted you to toughen you up and keep your morale up. That's why she did it. She didn't do it to make you feel embarrassed. She did it because she honored her code, unlike Vince. So let me go over the other people. So you had Daniel O, who was just a piece of garbage. There was a girl. I won't say her name, but yeah, I was trying to pick up on her, trying to chase the girl at work. They're just stupid. Don't chase your coworkers at work, especially at a fast food place. Okay, I had to learn at 28 years old. Stupid me, right? There was the other Daniel who was very cool with me. He respected why I quit my job after 3 months. So I quit my job in May, around just before my 29th birthday. Was it 28th? No, you know what? I was 27 and I turned 28 that year. So in May I turned 28 and I was 27 when I was working there. And I worked at McDonald's. The other 3 months in 2006, I'll cover that another time. But I was 27, not yet 28, when I quit Togo's. Okay, so I started in late February, early March, and I ended in May. So there was Daniel, who was cool with me when I quit, and he understood why. Then there was another guy. I think his name was Anthony. Tony. He was a piece of shit. Most of these people were pieces of garbage. Yadira was cool with me. Some guy liked her a lot, but Yadira was not even a 10 out of 10. She was like a 4 or 5 out of 10. And whenever I couldn't make my sandwich right, he got pissed off at me. So he got mad at me, like, because I didn't make his sandwich as fast as he wanted or as efficient. You know, we have our off days, okay? So that happened. And you had, who was the other piece of shit? Oh, Mike. So Mike was this, hey, how's it going there? How's it going there, Vince? How you doing? Mike was in his late 30s, early 40s. I remember he had problems with his wife, ex-wife. He was talking about custody. And I told him about my sisters and their problems, and it's like Vince is like, hey, just listen. You don't, unless you know something, don't talk. I'm like, what the fuck? So they're talking down to me. What the fuck does this remind me of? It reminds me of when my sisters talked down to me. I was the wetback nigger of the group. Sorry, Vince. Don't mean to offend you. I was the wetback Negro slave of the family of my work group. So I had no friends, and we couldn't talk like chums. Okay. So I started to hate and resent people there. So Mike snitched on me one day. This is why I quit my job. Okay. Well, that and people like Daniel O had locked me in the storage room. Luckily, there was a back door so I could get out, but he still locked me in the storage room. And then he opened the door. I said, what were you doing? I said, well, what were you mad at me for? What a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. I hope he's fucking dead. I put a bullet right through his ass. Anyway, forget Daniel O. Let's get to the reason why I quit this job. Okay? So there was Daniel O. And then, see, this job, you're wearing TOGO shirts, okay? Company shirts with the TOGO's logo. Now, those shirts easily could get damaged by the chemicals that were required to wash the dishes because we were using plastic dishes. You know, it's the kind of dish trays that you can't throw away. We tell people, on the sign by the trash can, put the plates on top of the trash can. So there was like papers, but like there wasn't any real disposable items. So we had to wash all those dishes, the silverware and the dishes, and we used a cleanser, and that cleanser was abrasive. It had some sort of chemical that's similar to the chemicals that's used in like liquid Drano or Roto-Rooter. And so it would turn our shirts white, and we had to pay $10 for a new shirt. Can you smell scam coming on? Because I felt a scam coming on. Like they would try to get money out of us and save money. Because, so we also had like this sort of this marketing person bitch who was in charge. So a lot of things were happening. And so she was in charge of making sure that people were doing, what's good for advertising for Togos. And then we had people in charge of us. So Sundays were those days where people didn't give a shit. The workers, I mean. What kept Togos going was the day shift, the lunch crew of white people in suits and ties who came out of their well-to-do jobs, who would go to Togos to eat because white people are kind of cultists. They gotta go to the worst places to eat. Why don't you go to Subway instead and get some yoga mat sandwiches? Remember that one guy that opened up his sandwich and keeled over eating he smelled the Subway sandwich. Anyway, so one day on a Sunday, I'm working hard, okay? Mike is working hard, and so is Vince. And Vince brings his girlfriend. Now, Vince lives in Long Beach, or he lived in Long Beach the last time I checked. And it's this cute girlfriend, about a 7 or 8 out of 10. She wasn't the hottest thing in the universe. She wasn't the top tier OnlyFans kind of model. I mean, Lauren Alexis is probably hotter than her, but she was like, close to that. So Vince took her to the bathrooms on a Sunday and locked the door. Guess what they were doing in the bathroom? Then he took her to his office and closed the door and locked the door. Guess what they were doing in the office, in that little space? So Vince was playing around with his girlfriend. He was playing Find the Pussy. Let's make a sandwich between your legs game, okay? During work hours. Now, when it came time to close, keep in mind it requires 3 people to close the store within 45 minutes efficient time. That means so one person has to clean the floors and the tables and the bathrooms. Another person puts all the food away and cleans the work area here, okay? And one person washes all the dishes. So one person does the dishes through those double doors here, one person cleans here, and one person cleans the floor in the bathrooms. 3 people. Guess what Vince was doing? Playing with his girlfriend, hanging around like he's like 20 years old, playing with a boner, playing with his girlfriend on work hours. And I'm looking at Mike and I'm telling Mike, it's kind of fucked up that he's not helping us. And what does Mike say? What do you say, Mike? You got a lot of nerve saying that about our boss. He pays our bills. He's the owner of TOGO's. And I said, he owns a TOGO's. We still have to answer to somebody higher up. The CEO of TOGO's is lighting up a cigar and has got 2-3 girlfriends in a hot tub. He could care less what we're doing down here. So Vince started hovering over me the next few days. He started hovering over me like he was going to fuck me in the ass, and I had to take it. He was watching everything. I was his favorite employee. And that's when I turned on Mike. And I told everybody that Mike snitched on me. And when I found out later from Daniel, the Daniel that was supportive of me, not Daniel O, not that piece of shit that locked me in the storage room in the dark, the other Daniel. And I said, we talked at Burger King. And he was working at Burger King. It was kind of sad that this dude who got his brother-in-law a job at TOGO's, that he was still working a job. Now, this was 2012, 2011. So 6 years later, this dude was working at a fast food. I'm like, but he was a store manager at a Burger King, but it's like he was still working these jobs. It was kind of sad. But he still is a nice guy. And he told me about Mike, and Mike immediately got fired, like after I left a week later, because he came in drunk. This guy was like smoking cartons of cigarettes, and he had to run to his bus all the time because he was fucking late. And he was fucking late to work and late to the bus. I was the one getting shitted on because Mike figured if he snitched on me to Vince, he would get a promotion, like somehow like in fiction. So that happened. And so at some point I quit my job. I couldn't stand some of the people, Lupe, telling me I was skinny. I told her she was fat because she was a fat ass. I quit my job. I quit all those people. I'm like, see ya. And I was done. I moved on to McDonald's, and that was a whole other chapter. We'll get into that on May. But true forced loneliness, don't pick up on your coworkers. I think I hit on one customer, but she didn't like it. But you don't do that. Don't do that either, please. And just keep away from AOL, keep away from chat rooms, and keep away from the girls. And keep away from the coworkers. Just shut the fuck up, do your job, and get the fuck out. Now, TOGO's is gone. It is a credit union bank, and I'm glad for it. It was awkward. Those next few years, I would see Vince at my credit union, and it was super awkward. It was super awkward to see this guy hanging around up until, I think, when did it close down? Maybe 10 or 11 years. I think after Trump got elected. And it was like between the time Trump got elected and the time of 2020, the lockdowns. Good riddance to bad rubbish. So hope you enjoyed the story. If you have a part-time job story you want to tell, you can tell it in the comments below. But these days I'm doing something different. And tomorrow in the morning, I'll tell you some happy news for me and what I'm going to be doing. It's not unlike Star Wars Theories news that he told you about recently about his projects.